Hi guys, Dr. J back here. Have you ever wondered how is it that the worship leaders, when they are kind of spending time between songs and they're inviting people into a time of prayer, and you hear them just go on and on and on and on and on, and it kind of sounds all right, but they're not really doing anything that's actually belonging to the chords of any particular song. How do you do that? So I'm going to teach you a little bit about that. The easiest thing for a worship leader, especially on a guitar, is to cycle between the 1 and the 4 chords. So if you're not sure what I mean by that, I think we're going to dig just a little bit in some basic music theory before we kind of get on to playing this thing. So every song is going to have some kind of key to start off with in the bass, right? So let's say you just finished a song and you feel like, wow, like, Spirit of God was really moving here. And I don't really feel like I want to end this thing and move on to the next song, but I want to kind of, see what the Spirit wants to do, and you kind of need to play something. You could choose to play the same chord progression that you were just doing, and let that just go on and on and on, and cycle them, and that's definitely something you can do, because you can choose to re-enter the song if you feel like God's leading us to kind of let's restate that again and let's sing that again. If that's something you can do. Or if you feel like, no, I definitely want to move on to the next song, but I don't feel like I want to break this moment, musically, if you know what I mean. And so you go to the 1 and 4. Let's say you did a song that was in the key of A, right? So the root chord's A, okay? So if you know the scale, which is really the ABCs, you start with, let's say, A, that's 1. Okay, you just count the numbers from there, and you count up the alphabet going forward, let's say. So you start with the key of A, that's 1, and then that's the A chord. The 2 is a B chord, and then we're going to do let's say the third is a C, but in the key of A, it's C sharp, okay? That's a very uncomfortable kind of, let's say, chord to play. The next one from there is a D, okay, the D chord, that's the 4. And the 5 is the E, okay? So let's just play 1 and 4 in this situation, that's A and D, to kind of hear what that sounds like, okay? So let's play the A chord. Switch to D. Switch to A. Get the drift, right? So you can just endlessly play 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4. In this situation, A D A D A D, as long as you see fit. And then if you feel like God's leading you to kind of do something from there, you can. And once you understand kind of music theory, you can kind of make up the chords along the way, and it'll sound okay, right? So what is that? So if you can go 1 4 1 4 1 4. You can do that, and that's a very neutral place to be, because the chords don't really guide and lead us anywhere. There's no like sense of progression. You're almost like as if we're just playing the same chord, just a little variation. That's 1 4. If you want to add a little bit more to that, you do a 5. So 1 4 5 1. And if you hit a 5, you kind of have to go to 1. You don't have to, but generally in this situation, for ease of the lesson today, we're going to go, once you hit a 5, then you have to go to 1. So what's 5 in the key of A? That's the E chord, right? So in this situation, let's try 1 4 5 1 1 4 5 1. D. That's the 4 chord. Now the 5 chord's the E. Go back to the 1, which is A. Hear that? Go 1 4 5 1 endlessly. Let's go to the 4. Let's go to the E, which is the 5 chord. And here from the E, you kind of have to go back to A. Alright, so that's an example in the key of A. Let's say that the chord, the key that you were doing the last song in was in the key of G, okay? So in the example of the key of G, the 1 chord would now be the G chord, okay? And count up from there, G, and then after G cycles back to A, okay? All right, that's the 2 chord. The 3 chord becomes the B, and then the 4 chord becomes a C, okay? And then the 5 chord would be D, okay? So if these chords sound familiar, and if you go all the way back to the first lesson, we just did those chords. So that's the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, okay? All right, and E minor actually would be the 6, okay? All right, so if we go 1 4 1 4 1 4, that's this. C. Go back to 1. C. Let's go to the D. You can kind of play with that. 1 4 5 1. You can actually go 1 4 5 4 5 4 5 4 1, and you can do that too, right? So let's hear what that sounds like. 4. That's kind of that chord progression in the key of G. Okay, you can do the same thing in key of E, and that's the last example we're going to draw today. Okay, so if E is going to be your root chord, this is 1 then. E becomes 1, and then if you count it from there, E, the next letter is F, right? That's the 2. The next letter after that is G. The next letter after that is A. That's the 4 chord. With respect to the key of E. So there's 1 and 4 is there, okay? And then the next chord after that is B. Okay, that's the 5 chord. And then the 1 chord, okay? So if you remember that, in our second lesson, we learned the A, the E, the C sharp minor, and the B, and those are the 1 4 5 6 chords of the key of E. Okay, that's why we did that like that, okay? All right, so let's start and let's go 1 4 5 4 5 4 1, okay? Or 1 4 5 4 5 1. Okay, so let's start with 1. 4. 5. So you've just learned how to lead worship and kind of lead that kind of prayerful time that sits between songs, right? And this is something that as you continue to play for yourself, you can kind of learn to play like this thing and then not really have to think about it too much cognitively. It'll just kind of go in your hands and let your hands kind of do the singing almost, do the playing. And then so that frees up your mind to think about what you could be saying and sharing with your congregation, right? It's sometimes these times that seem to kind of be like some of the most powerful moments as a worship leader, that you can draw the congregation in to engage with God, or kind of help them into a higher realization of who God is, because that's really what we're doing and we're called to do as worship leaders. We're called to lead worship, and what is that? That's drawing, increasing the awareness of who God is and what He's done for us and who we are in Him. And in that light, all right. So, and as a congregation, so we're helping the congregation kind of get in a deeper vertical relationship, if you know what I mean, like between man and God, vertically, but also because we're together in a community, worshiping together, we're also kind of helping each other worship horizontally as well. Not worship each other, but helping each other recognize who God is, right? And that's kind of our role as a worship leader. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and keep on playing.